Hey guys, welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 16, and today will probably be a little bit longer of a vlog because I'm going to get into a little bit of speculation here. And what I mean by that is if this Paycheck Protection Program loan doesn't come through. Now I know last week I talked about being approved for it, but we have still not seen any funds from that. And with the speculation that the funds have run out and with no idea of when new funds would be made available, if ever, and whether or not we would actually be funded even though we've been approved is still a huge question mark. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about what my plan is for if we don't get it, and what it's going to look like in the future as we basically start from scratch, or a little bit better than scratch. We've put in a lot of work into the company at this point, so it's not like we'd be starting at complete ground zero. That being said, to give you a little bit of understanding of how we'll go forward if we don't get it and we have to keep our staffing low, I'm going to give you a background as to how I actually started Applied Hearing Solutions in May of 2017. So again, this will be a longer vlog and definitely won't fit on LinkedIn. So if you're watching this on LinkedIn, you might as well just jump over to the YouTube channel right now because this will probably be a longer one. But just to give you some background, I knew that I wanted to be in some form of private practice. When I was going through undergrad, I actually had my massage license, and so I ran a little massage clinic inside of a chiropractor's office that I sold before going into audiology, or before going to grad school at University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. And when I was finishing up my fourth year and really going out to my fourth year in which is an externship for audiology before you get your doctorate, you work somewhere for a whole year. And I came out to Arizona. I had figured that Arizona is where I ultimately wanted to live because I came from the Midwest and I was really sick of like the weather that was in the Midwest. Pretty cliche, but it's the truth. And came out here and I really thought that I was going to be doing like a partnership with who I did my fourth year with. And so I actually in Sun City West helped this guy build a clinic out in Sun City West, and I was there for probably maybe a couple months before I realized that I don't really think that this is a good fit. I learned a lot at my fourth year. I actually really loved my fourth year placement. I had a terrific precepting audiologist that I worked with there, and it was very rewarding in terms of getting to see a lot of different things that I wouldn't normally be able to see if I just worked in a private practice audiology clinic. That being said, things didn't work out there, and so I had to start figuring out a plan of what I was going to do to start my own clinic. And I was looking around in the area. I had a 20-mile non-compete, and I wanted to honor that non-compete. And so I found Anthem, Arizona, which is up north, good 30 miles, 40 miles away from where this other clinic was that I worked at, and started from scratch. And I had read a book in grad school called The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. And he basically talked about this whole concept about you don't know what the market wants, meaning consumers want, until you get an idea of what they're willing to, purchase or buy or whatever. And it was really more for the tech industry in terms of developing some kind of software product to where you're not really sure if someone's going to like what you have, so you put out this minimum viable product to where people give you feedback on what they like, what they don't like, if they'll use it, if they won't, and then you modify that product over the course of its lifespan. And so you keep, growing with the demand of what people want. And so that was my concept from a business standpoint of starting an audiology clinic. I started in one room, and it was an executive office suite. In fact, that's where I'm still at right now, up in Anthem. And it was one room. It cost me like $700 a month for that one room. I had to buy a lot of equipment. I ended up getting a loan. The group that I got a loan from was a buying group, a hearing aid buying group. The reason I chose to go that route is because when you get a loan in the hearing industry, if you get it from a manufacturer, there's this like inherent bias that exists for you to dispense their particular product, especially if it's they forgive you on the loan based on how many units that they sell or that you sell of their product. And I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I ended up going with the buying group that had options of a bunch of different manufacturers that I could offer, and it didn't tie you into this idea of when you dispense X amount of units, we forgive this amount of money. It really became just a traditional loan. When I made money, I paid the loan back. The loan, every month I had a loan payment that I had to pay on that. Nonetheless, I don't want to digress too much from that, but I started this clinic up on a very small loan and had to buy equipment, so there were some initial fixed expenses, the cost of the furniture that's in there and what have not. And I started roughly May 1st of 2017, had 0 patients because I had a non-solicitation as well, so I honored that as well, and basically had no patients at all. And I got a few trickling in here or there, but I kind of started my YouTube channel at the same time, but it took 9-10 months before the first person came in having mentioned the YouTube channel. So it's not like I just hit the ground running and had a ton of patients right away. And as I grew, I didn't take a paycheck at all for like the first year or more. And the only way I was able to make it work is my wife, Ashley, she's a registered nurse. She worked at Mayo. She actually worked the entire time while I was going through school. And, she worked at Mayo making, decent money as a nurse, but I didn't take a paycheck for like a year. And then even when I started taking a paycheck, it was a really low number. And we just lived very frugally until we got it to the point where I could actually start taking a reasonable salary from the company. But as things grew, I also needed more space. So we started adding on rooms. We started leasing more rooms when they became available in this executive office suite. I ended up hiring a part-time front office person to kind of handle scheduling, because up until that point, literally I had a scheduling service where you'd call into this remote location service. They would talk to you, get you on the schedule to come in to see me, but they didn't know any answers to any questions relating to hearing loss or anything like that. So it was really not a good setup. But again, there was no really reason to risk a bunch of money to build this, huge, beautiful clinic and staff it to the gills and have training and all of that, when you don't know if the area that you're in is going to support the services that you provide. So I ended up doing this up until the point where, it got big enough to where we needed to hire another audiologist, and then obviously building out a new location, because we essentially identified that there is this demand for this high level of hearing healthcare. And I think of what's going to happen going forward if we don't get the Paycheck Protection Program loan is that we're probably going to revert back to some kind of a model like that, where I probably won't be able to afford to bring my other audiologist back on right away. I probably won't be able to bring back my staff right away. And we'll probably have to go back to this really slow growth method where it's just me, maybe my wife, because she really can't even go back to work at Mayo anymore. I hired her away from Mayo to handle a lot of the administrative duties because we wanted to make sure that I had enough time to focus on patient care and creating more informational video content. And they're furloughing a lot of their nurses at Mayo. Now, she could probably find a job somewhere in relation to the COVID thing, but it's not like she can just jump right back in and start earning a paycheck. So we have to be very cautious about any kind of money that we pull out of the business and pay us with. We have, like I mentioned in a previous video, we do have reserves to where we could hang on for a while, but at the end of the day, we don't have that kind of safety net of my wife Ashley having a nice steady job. So this takes us to the point where we really can't run as lean of a practice as I used to, because I do have existing patients that I need to take care of. I do have this new clinic location that sooner or later is going to be built, but I would probably have to get rid of a lot of the extra rooms, go down to 2 rooms inside of my current clinic location. and then wait for the new clinic to be built. And then once we get in there, obviously we can get rid of Anthem as a location entirely, and it makes sense to, because the carrying costs of that would not make sense, especially if we're trying to stay as lean as possible. It would still allow me to provide a high level of care, but at the end of the day, it would be a slow growth thing with demand. Now, if demand ends up picking back up quickly, then it's an easy decision to bring back the staffing as quickly as possible. But right now, it's just not a possibility, and I can't really sit around and just kind of cross my fingers and hope that we'll end up getting funded from this, from the Paycheck Protection Program. So that's really the plan going forward. It's not a great plan, but it's as good of a plan as I can think of at this point. And we're basically, starting over again to some degree. And like I said, it's not quite as bad as starting completely from scratch where I have no patients whatsoever. I do have a lot of video content on there that quite honestly does get me a lot of patients who are looking for a higher level of care. And so that's kind of nice because that always lives on. I don't have a lot of marketing expense, and in fact, I don't really market hardly at all. Most of the marketing that I do is trying to help consumers become aware that there are providers in their area that also follow best practices with the DrCliffAuD approved provider network. So that's the plan. That's what we're going to do. Starting roughly May 4th, I believe that's the first Monday in May when the lockdown in Arizona is lifted. And to be honest, we didn't have to shut down. We just felt like it was the responsible thing to do at this point without really knowing kind of where the coronavirus thing was going to go. But May 1st, we're probably going to start off again. My wife, Ashley, being a nurse, she's going to take charge of the infection control procedures to make sure that everything is really safe coming into the clinic. We have masks. I have the masks that had the clear window cutouts coming. I don't know when they're going to come. We placed the order for them. And that helps for individuals who have a hearing loss be able to see your mouth while you're talking. Until we get that, I'm going to be using an N95 mask, so something that's very safe, and then we'll also have masks to give patients to wear during their appointments as well. So everybody will be masked, everybody will be gloved. So we're going to try to be as safe as possible when it comes to providing patient care. We're also going to be spacing out appointments. We're still going to probably do some drop-off service to keep the foot traffic low inside of the clinic. We'll probably have patients waiting in their cars before they can actually come in, and then when we're ready for them, we'll give them a call, have them come in right into the office, and then they'll stay basically in the office the entire time to reduce exposure risk. So there are a lot of precautions that'll be taking place here, at least early on, until we get, until things are really back to normal, and I don't really know when that's going to be. But in the meantime, it's my responsibility to my patients to stay open and to provide them with hearing services. And to be quite honest, if it ends up turning into a thing where I have to provide some kind of not really telecare, but remote fitting, to where we send a test kit to patients' homes where they do a hearing test, visual otoscopy, we do a phone or video consult online, and then I end up making a recommendation and shipping them hearing aids and remotely fitting them to those patients without them even coming in the office ever. If that's what we have to do to get us through this time so people can continue to hear, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm already doing online consultations, video consultations for people, no matter really where they are, just to give them an idea of what their options are. So once this whole, curtain is lifted and you can go back into a hearing healthcare provider, you have an idea of what to expect and what you need. So I'm trying to stay as busy as possible with that. Obviously, I'm still creating video content, but a lot of unknowns still at this point. It'll be interesting to see where things go from here, but I'm sure in a week from now, some things will be a little bit more clear, I hope, and I'll be able to give you an update then. So guys, thanks for watching the vlog today. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week.